too many words.
I was like, I don't have time to read this.
There were a lot of words. I'm really glad that you gave us the disclaimer of, man, there's some words. And there's a lot of bans here as well, as Syndra, Rise, and Karma have already been removed here by AHQ as we jump into Champion Select. And the response is going to be Kennen, Jace, and Nidalee. Of course, Nidalee spending a lot of time on that bench. She must be getting very comfortable as now AHQ with the first pick, Tahm, Kench being considered.
Yep, and a lot of focus given to Pawn already in the bans. Especially, I like seeing the Rise because I was talking to Zig off stream a little bit about the fact that Pawn has basically been spamming that thing nonstop in solo queue and actually hulking out on it. So probably pretty good to take it down.
Him and his former teammate Bamey as well, both of them just smashing out the Rise games.
And kind of quickly touching the difference between Scout and Pawn. Obviously, it's a big move for EDG to say we're going up against AHQ. These two teams have a lot of long-standing history, a lot of scrim culture between them. Clement said on the desk that they're the brothers or sister teams effectively just because of how much scrim culture they share. When EDG decided to start Pawn, they made a statement from their coach saying it was really scary for us to start two rookies, Scout and Mouse, on a Worlds international stage. That's why we led with Pawn. The team is more comfortable with Scout, but kind of that do or die moment, giving it to Pawn, the guy who has more experience against this team specifically, it's definitely a gamble to roll. Again, Pawn has only played 5 games over the course of the LPL season.
Yeah, this is scary as well because Poppy's been locked in by Mouse. I mean, the Rumble's still up. He's had trouble in a few of these matchups.
I mean, the Kennen that he got solo killed in earlier has been banned away, so hopefully it's a little bit easier for him, but he has been struggling a ton this tournament. Probably the top laner drawing the most attention from fans for his play. Yeah.
Wouldn't even call them fans at this stage. But ClearLove is going to take away the Nami from Meiko one more time, so setting themselves up for that potential Ezreal Nami lane one more time. See whether it can be more impactful this time. Like, Deft needs to go off, and Pawn needs to do something ridiculous from that mid lane. I feel like EDG, we say it every single time, they need to make a statement. They just haven't been able to.
And frankly, I actually think that this is a mistake. Not that Meiko and Deft can't play around a Nami pick, but I feel like fundamentally EDG have proven that they can't play around a Nami pick.
Oh my goodness.
They find so much more success when they're playing with playmaking champions like that Alistar, kind of the thing that the LPL really brought back into the world's international stage. And I'm very disappointed to see a second rotation 2 defensive picks. It makes sense that you would pick up something like Poppy because she doesn't have 2 awful matchups. We should expect Ziv to go towards the Rumble pick, and it makes sense that you would second rotate support, but at the same time, I'm like, just lock in the Alistar, just get it done.
Well, speaking of just locking things in, the Twisted Fate has been picked up by westdoor, of course, has seen consistent bans so far against AHQ, but now finally westdoor on his signature champion, Mountain as well on the Elise. There is a lot of power right here as EDG try and scramble for the next picks. Oh my goodness, Pawn. He's been playing a lot of Pantheon. This is not a troll.
Oh boy, I mean, it's scary because the thing you're worried about is the fact that Mouse has been one of the weakest parts of EDG. There's already a ton of tools available to AHQ to really kind of take a lot of shots at the top lane. They can make a lot of moves up there. They'll probably pick, like Frostcurrent was saying, the Rumble. So another thing that benefits from attention. It likes getting ahead, and they have a lot of tools to do that. Pantheon could control put a lot of kill pressure back onto the TF, but it doesn't look like they go with it.
And ultimately, we do have, again, because it is a fog of war stream, trying to refocus there, like the fact that you have the Tahm Kench, that you have the Twisted Fate is actually really cool tools to
try and track for us.
Yeah. It's almost like abusing vision just because you have to be so much more diligent when you're facing kind of these semi-global or these global ultimates.
We'll just have to make sure that we keep track of when and when he isn't actually visible.
It's about the where, Atlas. Where.
Yeah, but like, of course, if he goes invisible at any point, if you can't see him on the map, you have to play scared. You have to respect, especially when it's westdoor. And we know that like this guy was always written off for his tiny champion pool, but if he gets his good champions, he's still a good player.
And speaking of tiny champion pool, it's actually very curious to me that ClearLove would go for the Olaf. Again, ClearLove has never shown an Olaf jungle. We don't really know what he'll look like on this particular champion, so EDG kind of showing their cards, maybe going a bit more with the Worlds meta. Something that he does play a lot of is Nocturne, and the fact that Twisted Fate was already picked up, I would actually almost suspect more of a Nocturne jungle before an Olaf one, so just very much out of left field to pull this out in a very important game.
Yeah, right, but if they do go with the Sivir pick, I think it rounds their comp out really well in terms of they basically just get this face roll run at you comp.
Which does seem like the EDG way. I like it.
So, I mean, I think the idea of the comp is fine. I think this kind of goes into that Nami pick you were talking about. It does help the Sivir, who doesn't have, like, the best matchups, more of, like, a wave clear kind of AD carry not going to dominate a laning phase.
Yeah, you don't lane against Sivir, you lane against the creeps in front of Sivir.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one of those things. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, join us for the discussion on Twitter. Share your questions using the hashtag AskTheCasters, and we'll answer some live during the game. Of course, anything vision related is probably the most relevant. See exactly what is going to happen this game, and feel free to ask us anything. Maybe don't ask me anything because, you know, I can answer really ridiculous questions about weird stuff, but well, it's spelt with a U.
Thanks, Atlas.
Atlas. That was with an A, so that's the difference, you know?
Yeah, thanks.
We
Learned
got
a
it
lot
now.
from you.
Thanks very much, MarkZ. See, I can answer questions as well. Keep them coming. Send your questions directly to Atlas. We are going to be jumping onto this Fog of War stream, though, and I am terrified. The fact that I'm already nervous for this game, you know, being an LPL caster and all Frostgrown's feeling it at the same time, the fact that we now have to watch it with Fog of War enabled from EDG's perspective is just so frightening against a Tahm, Kench, and a Twisted
Right,
Fate.
I was supposed to say, especially against the comp that AHQ have picked, it's like it's hard enough to play this because you have to worry about your mechanics, where you're supposed to go, your communication. Sitting on the outside watching it is difficult as well because as soon as anyone's off the map, you don't even know how many people are coming because Tahm, Kench can bring multiple people. There's so many little factors to take into account.
Yeah, it's definitely true, and we'll see what EDG can actually do to make things happen because AHQ, I mean, looking down the line as well, all of their players have such comfort in these picks. We are on to the Rift. You can see things very, very dark on the side of AHQ, and we are going to be witnessing exactly how EDG deal with all of the global pressure that they're going to be facing against. And I think the early game is going to be important. See whether they can make that one happen.
I mean, most obvious is you have to look at where AHQ actually have kill pressure in their lanes. That will typically be where the enemy jungler is going to be showing up, and bouncing between the top lane just because you have a matchup like Ziv versus Mouth, which is shown very volatile over this tournament. And then you also have the kill pressure because you have hard CC in that westdoor having the Twisted Fate. I feel like there's going to be a lot of attention early, more so on the Ziv lane. And then as soon as that Twisted Fate gets his destiny, I expect to continue to see us go up towards the top lane. Tahm, Kench really doesn't become super relevant unless you're disengaging from a trade from him, running away, or he has his ultimate and he's able to join up in skirmishes.
Right, and this is one of the nice things about the Fog of War stream is that level 1s become a lot more interesting.
Yeah, they do.
When you see two people lined up doing their basic spread out fan strategy, it's not as scary as it is when you're actually playing the game and you don't know if there's 5 people coming at you through the Fog of War.
I know I was terrified. I saw that ward come in. I was like, oh, what's going to happen?
See some pings, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, don't know what's going to happen there. But, of course, ClearLove going to head back towards his jungle, starting on his blue side.
We actually did have a ping of Meiko and Deft towards the Krugs. It wasn't on your way ping. I'm actually really curious if they're going to try to face check this or if they're going to help leash ClearLove's blue buff. They should be going right now, and there they go.
Yeah, with the Olaf being able to solo blue buff fairly safely, it's not a surprise to see teams go in and try and mess with the Krugstar, the other team. Just looks like they're not even doing that.
And then immediately, so what they've done is they're scouting with their level 1. So they've made sure that On and Albis aren't doing the Krugs. And as you can see now, On has appeared from the brush, and he was trying to grab the creep wave so they can get control of the wave for level 1. Unfortunately, they didn't grab creep aggro, who just tried to shove it as quickly as possible. But
oh, the dream double bounce.
Could have been a scary situation. That's why it's actually really important. You'll notice that teams over the course of Worlds, what they've been doing level 1s is one of their scouting wards will actually go into that second brush down into the bottom lane, and it's so they can check for what On and Albis were doing, standing in that brush, either setting up in a Freaka level 1 where they just kind of chunk you out of lane as you come to walk in, or more importantly, grabbing the aggro of the wave as it comes in and start pushing down the back caster creeps to 20% so they can control the flow of bot lane.
Right, and that's actually one of the things that's come about of the standard lane changes, where people use their warding a lot less to figure out the starting of enemy teams, because you can basically figure everyone's going to be in their lanes, and you can use that for more getting laning advantages versus figuring out where lanes even are going.
He saw him.
Yep. Pawn's just playing.
No,
playing
here's
stuff.
ClearLove.
In he goes. Cocoon's still going to land, however, as Mountain does flash himself out. The Ignite's down from westdoor as well. I mean, interesting play out of AHQ. Aggressive, most certainly.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the point of that was. Like, there's no way.
That's the perfect response, MarkZ. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was just. I think it was like strangely aggressive from AHQ because they really don't win that 2v2 in terms of just like fighting it out. And once they kind of saw each other, I'm surprised that they even went for it, I guess.
Yeah, that's a head tilter. Effectively, you traded 2 summoners for 1, Flash and Ignite versus the Ghost summoner cooldown, which is going to come up much more often. Something that's actually really cool that we can touch on quickly is Olaf's jungle pathing. So the reason why Olaf was also picked away from AHQ in particular is because AHQ have shown that even given the opportunity to pick Elise, they will put Mountain on Olaf. So it is definitely a denial pick. The thing about Olaf with his pathing is because he has to start blue buff because it's just so beneficial to his clear time so he can spam those axes. He's one of the few junglers that actually starts on the bottom side of the map when he is on red side. And so it can really disrupt jungle pathing and flow. And that you have two junglers that are on the opposite side of the map, opening up a lot more windows to make counterplay.
Well, we do have a tweet in, ladies and gentlemen.
A tweet?
Yes, Despair has tweeted in saying, since AHQ has many ultimates that can teleport, what should EDG do to prevent those ultimates from being effective to end the sentence?
The biggest thing is to track... Oh, let's see if this gank turns into anything. Nope. Good, let me talk. All right. The big thing is actually communication. Knowing when people are out of lane and knowing how long it takes before they can start making plays. So when AHQ's bot lane backs, like Mouse has to be super, super careful of a TP play coming in behind him and trying to avoid being in an exposed position. Then same thing when westdoor leaves. Obviously you want to work for vision control around mid lane, but the bot lane TPs can come basically from lane, and then with Jinx they also have a lot of threat of just trading turrets and starting to open the map up. And
in that same vein, it also means that your flanking vision is that much more important. So not only communicating that someone does have the potential to roam, but exactly what ClearLove is doing on your screen right now, making sure that you have your flanks covered, so all of those entrances into the lanes and the gank pass are covered.
And at the moment, actually, things quite dark. I mean, you mentioned the fact that ClearLove did just place a ward, but looks like one of the only ones that EDG have currently after all of the others had fallen down.
Well, to be fair, the bot lane hasn't made their back yet, so they haven't picked up their pink wards.
And Pawn just dropped his first one. With Olaf has one in inventory, going to drop it probably around the top side, because I think... Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you wouldn't put it top side, because if you're scared about the snowball coming in from top side, global pressure, having more vision control up there could be the thing, but it looks like he's going to put it bot side.
Well, now moving down, you can see the back ping. I have a feeling that might be warded. But ClearLove now making his adventure on the bottom side of the map. AHQ seem to know what's going on.
This is another thing that's interesting about the Fog of War stream versus standard one, is that you can't see enemy vision as well. So not only can we not know where the enemy is, we don't know if they know where we are. So did Olaf's pathing show him there? Is this something that the enemy team can use and try and get a dive off topside because they know the jungler's bottom? These are the kinds of things that teams are thinking about as well. And they'll often do a lot of communication trying to track wards, bot lane in particular, knowing when they throw their wards and where they are.
Wow, Deft actually got that ward too. And just like you were saying, the fact that they spotted ClearLove on the bottom side of the map means that Mountain had time to rotate topside. He did spot out that ward with his Raptor senses, which is why Mouse is being so respectful and backing off. But so far, everyone's had their bluffs called.
One thing that's nice for Mouse, of course, as well, is that westdoor's getting pushed in by the Vladimir a little bit, so it's hard to get those roams off because Vlad is a little bit of an auto-push champion against people who can't deal with his sustain as easily.
And instant wave clear not necessarily there for westdoor at the moment, as well as he just has the Sheen. Not going to give him the AP that it used to.
It's also why Pawn has placed his trinket ward so deep into the lane. Yes, he's doing a good job constantly keeping westdoor shoved in, so he's bringing that vision with the creep wave forward and keeping him locked down under his tower. But if for some reason he wasn't, his ward actually just died in the mid lane. He has a ward deep enough that he can see if westdoor starts to swing out towards the side, bottom or top, looking for those destiny plays.
Right, definitely one of those TF wards. You see a couple of those more unique ones to certain champions. There's like Zac wards, TF wards, very specific wards for certain champions that you have to almost like remember when you play against them because you don't often see them right now. There's not that many TF picks.
Yeah, we did see actually westdoor going into Fog of War just a moment ago. Didn't actually find anything on the bottom side of the map where I assume he went, but of course you just don't know. That is the scary part. Pawn's communication going to be very, very important as he goes back and grabs himself a very early Mercury tread by. Give him that movement speed, give him that ability to get out of these gold cards and cocoons.
I actually feel like we're kind of in store for a relatively slow or controlled game. A bit of a gamble saying that just because there are so many global ultimates available for HQ right now. But I feel like, this is do or die, loser here goes home. This is effectively like the end of a best of 5, that people are going to play a bit more cautious. Although as I say that, Meiko.
Yeah, he's going to get caught out, and that's going to be first blood. Fantastic positioning from Mountain. As Deft gets back underneath his turret. The Twist of Fate was accounted for, but the Elise certainly wasn't.
But again, it's that idea that it's not, all in on the bot side. It's just kind of a very standard setup gank with the pink ward. Elise comes in through the back because, again, this is that do or die moment. This is that last chance game to stay at this tournament.
Yeah, and they're going to lose a Infernal Drake off the back of it, which is actually super good for AHQ's comp. Pretty much everyone's going to benefit from the stat bonuses that it gives.
Yeah, I'm just going to fall down right there. 1,300 gold now, the lead for AHQ, and you can see a lot of it has to do with this top lane lead. But of course, that kill is going to be important as ClearLove looking to try and stop Ziv. Heroic Charge pushes him probably in the right direction, but Undertow is there. ClearLove, yeah, Vicious Strikes available.
And just kind of quickly touching back on kind of the Infernal Drake point that Mark brought up, he made the statement that it's a dragon, that everyone's going to get stat bonuses, and obviously that it's 100% correct, but most people be like, well, of course it's the Infernal Drake. The other part of that is there, like, our champions like Cassiopeia or something, which itemize much more into like the penetration, or even like a Jhin who itemizes a ton of penetration versus just like flat AD and flat AP. So it's also that statement of, yes, Infernal Drake is normally good for everyone, but it's better for champions who build like that flat AP, that flat AD, so they can get more bonuses off of it.
Right, and so the example here would be Poppy, who basically goes no offensive items, is not going to benefit nearly as much as a Gnar and an Elise and those kinds of things. So it is a little worrying to have to give that away so early, and depending on what the other Drake spawns are, it could be a snowballing factor, but for now it's not like the end of the world. And we see AHQ getting a bit of a gold lead just off that TF passive and some laning advantages topside. Yeah.
Pawn is controlling his lane well, though. He's the Vladimir, of course, one of the picks that he has done extremely well on domestically. But we're going to be looking at this guy a lot. The fact that Pawn didn't have his best first game here at the tournament. And Scout has been looking relatively good, especially on the Cinder pick.
Pons looked great, I think. It was very curious when they decided to sub him out, especially because he was having great games. Even when EDG lost against INTZ, Pon was playing Vladimir, kind of looking around like...
Yeah, 4-0-4, where's my team?
Exactly,
yeah.
I did my job. So it's nice to kind of see him return to the field. But again, EDG have been very vocal that they feel more comfortable with Scout in the lineup, so we'll see if this is enough to get them over the line.
It does feel like an emergency, of course. I'm thinking back to the regular season, I believe it was.
Where he's like running out of the hospital to save EDG.
Yeah, running out of the hospital, save EDG. Game 3 of their best-of-5 series against WE, where they were down and managed to reverse sweep their way back in. You can't write a script like that, Frosker.
Nike couldn't film a better commercial than that.
Damn right they couldn't. Deft actually looking for more. Doesn't get the spell shield mana, unfortunately, because the Licky Tongue was a little bit wide.
Look at that jungle lit up from EDG, however. They have, like, that's a Christmas tree. They have wards in every single brush of AHQ's red side jungle.
EDG doing their best to get rid of Atlas's Fear of the Dark.
How did you know? Oh, wait, I told you. Yeah, that's correct.
EDG was trying to look for a 4-man dive play there, but because they bumped into some members of AHQ, they're just pulling back on it and just pressuring the lanes more normally. And one thing that's really dangerous about TF is whenever you commit to something a little too long, he just goes to the flip side and just goes top or something like that. And so having a Pawn turn around and instantly catch this minion wave and not catch it much later or something can help him follow if there's a play that happens somewhere else.
And in that same vein, not only his ability to walk to the other lane, which we do see some pings going topside, but also the fact that he did itemize Sheen early. If you leave him alone in the lane, the tower will fall.
Well, Ghost is coming in here towards the bottom side immediately. Albis is going to eat up the Jinx's Deft, tanking the turret. Good heal, saves his life. Super Mega Death Rocket goes wide as Meiko grabs it with an ebb and flow. What a beast. Pawn is going to get the second kill. Fantastic steadfast presence from Mouse. And he's going to body block for Pawn. EDG with the dive skills.
And where is westdoor?
Right, that seems like the perfect play to try and counter with a TF ult.
There he is. We found him.
There he goes.
He must have been. He had to have been in base.
Yeah, he must have just been out of range somewhere. I mean, we don't have the vision to know exactly, but oh, he's going to try and cut them off now in the retreat.
What? ClearLove is actually going to get caught out. Bubble is going to go wide. Thankfully, he's able to get some sort of
better late than never.
Yeah, they're split though. EDG not communicating exactly which target they wanted to be on, catching ClearLove as he goes to his Gromp. So in the end, westdoor does make it count, but had to have been in base right there.
Another victim, Frosker.
Oh, don't remind me. Here we go.
Yep, and so without knowing where TF is, you would think this would be a great play to try and collapse on because Albis does a really good job of keeping on alive throughout this dive, getting this E done here. And what's nice is you can basically spin him over that turret like you saw there, which
good dodge.
Get him away from ClearLove. And then, unfortunately, the rest of the TP support comes in super late. There's that turret going down like you were saying.
Yeah, Hemoplague is going to get absorbed here by Albis as well as Pawn grabs some health back from it, but that mid tower falling. huge advantages here for AHQ.
So AHQ did a great counterplay. Like we said, they got the pickup on ClearLove. They then used all of that pressure they got into the mid lane because it is a Sheen Rush Twisted Fate. He's able to push down that tower. So another big swing for AHQ in their favor. And that Destiny is about half up on cooldown, so they'll have an opportunity to look for another play. Probably the top side of the map is what I would guess.
Right. Even though they weren't able to punish the slight misplay by EDG on that dive, the fact that the rest of EDG got chunked out so hard, they managed to pick up one cleanup kill, gave AHQ the tempo advantage on the map, so they were able to go mid and just push that turret down.
Well, now EDG just looking to clear things out. Pink Ward is going to fall down on the bottom side of the map as they look to make things as dark as possible for AHQ. But you can see AHQ's side of the map now is extraordinarily dark. EDG with no idea where the bottom lane is, most importantly, and that's actually a big deal in this matchup due to the fact that Abyssal Voyage is a thing.
Yeah, for sure, and especially since Ziv will basically have permanent pressure on the top side. You never know when someone else is just going to end up next to him.
Yeah, well, that tower well and truly in trouble as Ziv's going to head into Gnar. They spot the Elise, though. Mouse will understand that he is at least a little bit safer from any sort of 1v2 situation, but these trades are still a problem. Crush doesn't get too much done and Pawn forced to pull in the mid lane.
Infernal Drake is the next big objective coming up. So what HQ want to do is they want to start moving their vision over here, try to get it deeper, set down that triangle vision around EDG's blue buff, and contest for this and start to stack that objective. But Mountain may have overreached.
Yeah, he's going to head up into the sky. Of course, the Twisted Fate is here. ClearLove running forward. Ragnarok goes down. Pawn in trouble. Crimson Rush is there as he does pick up the kill. EDG on the hunt is popped as they launch themselves into the mid lane, and westdoor gets undertowed and destroyed. Bro, says ClearLove as he takes down the Twisted Fate.
Just in time for Infernal Drake. Mountain was really overextended trying to get the Scuttle Crab to make their vision control around it easier, and it's just one of those things you tunnel a little bit too much, and next thing you know, 2 people are dead.
And what's so weird is he didn't need to overextend that much. Albis and On were coming back from being in base. They had just made their buy, so Mountain had all of the resources to set that up, safely, using his bottom lane. I think there was a bit of miscommunication of whether On and Albis were catching the incoming wave that Deft and Meiko had pushed forward versus just walking across from the pit. Yeah, so look at Albis on your map. He's just completely on the wrong side. The wave is shoved in. On and Albis are saying, we need to go catch this wave. We can't give it to them for free. And Mountain's just not waiting long enough to team up with Tahm, Kench and do this the right way.
Yeah, not going to find the knock-up with the tidal wave, but westdoor still taken down and Pawn able to tank up that turret quite nicely. That being said, I mean, you can see the Jinx very comparable in CS with the Sivir, and look at the Gnar ahead by 35? Sorry, 25. 35? 35. It is 35. 37.
Mouse is not having a great
Not having a great time.
Yeah, getting that Infernal Drake was so huge to stopping this snowball, because if this turret goes down and then they're able to make a play on the bot side with all those globals or something, the game can just explode open, and stopping that second Infernal Drake is a key part of not letting that happen.
And once again, it's Pawn with a very good start to this game. The Vladimir doing some work. We'll see whether he can get to his next items. He does have his Proto Belt, so going for a more aggressive build here in this mid lane, not opting in to the Spirit Visage. Already has a bit of magic resist from those Merc trades. I like it.
So what Meiko and Deft are pinging right now very rapidly on their screen is they're setting up a pink ward behind them. So the last standing outer tower is that bot tower. So you would think that AHQ, that's the easiest objective for them to siege on the map right now, especially because the dragon is down. So Meiko and Deft just being really respectful of a possibility for a dive, although now they're kind of unlocking themselves and look to contest Rift Herald. But that's kind of the thinking of where they're placing their vision and why.
I was about to mention the Rift Herald because they've had a ward on it for a little while, and I think that's super smart of them to keep an eye on it, because if the HQ is able to get that onto Ziv, that just unlocks him even to another level to just keep destroying Mouse in this 1v1. And Mouse has done a good job so far of hanging on. It's not a good lane for him, and the fact that it's just a CS deficit at this point, though the turret has gone down, it's not too terrible. It's
also a great 3v3 opportunity for EDG. So yes, they are behind in gold, but if it comes to, a Twisted Fate, an Elise, and a Gnar, unless Ziv gets a massive knockdown, that's actually a pretty comparable fight for EDG to take, simply because that Vladimir is so big. So it's also making sure that Ziv doesn't get it, but also EDG seeing that, this is a possibility that we could fight and try to get a foot back into this game because Pawn is being such a menace.
Right, and just in general, EDG's comp is much better at the 5v5, so if you're able to predict where AHQ is going to go, you can usually win those fights. And there they see westdoor heading to the top side, but coming back.
Yeah, not going to be able to find any dive against Poppy. No minion wave available. Now ClearLove joining his team on the bottom side of the map. 3v3 currently, but here comes the Twisted
Disaster.
Fate. westdoor is going to join as Meiko's in trouble. Big Gnar into the wall under 3 from Ziv as 2 are cleaned up immediately. There goes the bottom lane of EDG, and now they're on the run. Abyssal Voyage says, I'm sorry, you're not getting out of this one, but it's not quite enough as he was a little bit overly aggressive. And EDG just lose 2 for nothing.
Great ultimate for Ziv right there. Deft getting caught out. It's going to be that final tower falling for AHQ, and they're going to continue to snowball this game. The gold lead is ballooning very quickly out of control.
Did you just celebrate the Gnar ult?
Yeah.
I thought you were LPL.
When you land a good Gnar ult, you have to just get the fist pump in there.
Got to admit that something was good when it was good, MarkZ.
I guess that's not how NA does it. We're just salty when we lose.
Well, we're pretty used to it after 2015.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of practice, so it's absolutely fine.
Here we go, though. But great job. Deft can only spell shield so many things. He gets locked up by the CC, and his flash doesn't mean anything as Ziv just styles on Meiko and Deft right into the wall. Gnar ultimate into giant boulder just smashes 2 people.
Yeah, and EDG had a decent read on collapsing down, but just being a second too late. The Vladimir wasn't quite in range to make an impact in that fight before the bot lane was already popped, and now the map is really opened up. AHQ has so much control, the 5k gold lead, and it's going to be about continuing to push in sideways and trying to get those global plays going.
And this is where AHQ's composition really shines. The more these towers are knocked down, the farther that EDG have to run back to safety, the more danger zones or the larger danger zones are created onto this map because they have such a global pick composition with the Elise, with the Twisted Fate, with the Tahm Kench.
Well, now Pawn just getting aggressive on the mountain. He just loves proto-belting onto Elise. It just seems to be his thing. We'll see whether
jump
westdoor
forward a little bit.
Yeah, he does.
It's fun.
Just likes it. I like pressing that button as well. So westdoor is about to have his Destiny back off cooldown. Can gate around this map once more and has his on his Hourglass as well. So the Messiah plays available to the man.
That's the big thing is his itemization is perfect right now. He has the Lich Bane so he can look for that side wave pressure, or he has the Hourglass so he could also be that 5v5 Twisted Fate. So there's so much flexibility through his build path of what kind of responsibility he wants to take as TF.
I like what EDG is doing right now in terms of not staying in any lane too long. They push in the top lane into the turret. Once they saw that AHQ had matched the lanes, they don't want to be sitting there in that exposed long lane. So they run down to the mid lane, push that in, get some chip damage on that turret, and they want to stay relatively grouped up, but not like long enough to get a flank set up or something like that. So I just want to keep seeing them move around the map like that and catch waves and not just sit at turrets and things, because that just opens you up for these TP flanks.
Yeah, I feel like the real win condition for them right now is the 600 CS Sivir win condition
right
late game.
We talk about it a lot, but Deft is a pretty good Sivir.
And what's really important is they need to make sure that Pawn, Deft, and pretty much ClearLove, I would say Mouse, but I think it's more so ClearLove, are never sharing resources of gold. So it's actually really bad. Like, the longer that EDG sit with Vladimir and Sivir in the same lane, the worse off they are because you're just splitting your power.
Now, well, On the Hunt has been popped here towards the top side, looking for this pick onto Ziv. Good exhaust goes down. Meiko saying, we definitely want this. And the Aqua Prison is going to secure it as Mouse falls down in mid lane. Pawn taking a lot of damage from Arn. Thankfully, Crimson Rush is available. This
is the question. Is Vladimir strong enough that he can at least hold off this siege long enough that EDG can get back in position? So, you know, can EDG quickly grab a tower? It actually looks like the answer is no. They're going to have to pull back and threaten a flank.
Oh, Deft is actually going back to this turret, and Destiny is up. This is very scary for the Sivir.
Doesn't look like westdoor is looking to collapse right now. It's huge if EDG can pick up this turret, though Mountain's starting to come behind him.
Yeah, everyone's collapsing. In he goes.
Going for Fog of War.
Yeah, there's a decent spell shield. Ignite is going to go down from westdoor. Ebb and Flow's available as Deft trying to kite this one out. Fantastic Zhonya's from westdoor as the bubbles at the wrong time, but ClearLove's just going to smack them on the face. There is a tweet that we are going to read out. In fact, get it back up there on the screen after this replay. Nailed it.
So Mouse is trying to go hold the mid lane, trying to meet up with Pawn, but gets caught out right before he can get...
Everything went wrong there.
Yeah.
But we are going to have a look at that tweet. It is from Thomas Volkov. Which team has a better all-in composition, and what or how would the other team have to react in order to turn it around? Firstly, of course, who has the all-in composition?
I think that's pretty easy to say, and it's EDG in terms of like you're all in running at you. Like this is the train composition. You have the Sivir ultimate, you get that Olaf going full speed ahead. You got the Vladimir in there. You can try to chase him down with the slowest moving Nami ultimate known to man.
Probably couldn't even keep up with the team.
Exactly. But in terms of turning that around, I mean, you have a lot of disengage options and a lot of safety options on AHQ's composition. You know, Tahm Kench can help reposition Twisted Fate or Jinx. You've got the Elise cocoon as well as the boulder and the boomerang slows from Gnar. So it's about layering and kind of surviving the initial train running at you, and then just getting that big 5-man Gnar ultimate and layering your hard CC appropriately with the cocoon, with the gold card.
Right, and the other way to play AHQ's comp, of course, is to go in by getting the jump first. If it's just a straight 5v5, it is very difficult for them to win, but they do have a ton of tools for catching somebody out at the start of the fight. westdoor, a very good TF. If you can just get on top of the Sivir, somehow with her spell shield down, some situation where she's not ready for it, then he can possibly blow somebody up. But EDG's comp is actually really good for not getting picked off on anyone but the Nami. Everyone else basically is a tank or has some defensive tools against the TF.
Spell shield, Olaf ultimate, Poppy ultimate, pool.
Yep. Well, we'll see whether it is actually going to be enough, as EDG haven't been able to take a turret yet. 5,000 gold is the lead for AHQ, of course. By no means insurmountable. And EDG were able to get that Infernal Drake back, but that's a mountain added to AHQ's repertoire.
The more concerning thing, so the gold disparity, there's actually a lot of standing gold on the map for EDG just because they haven't taken a tower at all. It's not so much the gold lead that's really concerning for EDG fans, it's the fact that they've lost so much control over the map.
Yeah.
There are very little safe zones and very little safe coverage for them to walk around, which is why you see them grouped up as 5. They have no idea where the majority of AHQ are, and they can't really go anywhere very safely, which then limits their ability to farm and to get gold onto their carries so they can scale into late game.
Right, and we saw once just how punishing it can be if you just take one unsafe path. We saw MarkZ trying to join up mid lane instead of going around the wall. He tries to go through in front of the wolf pit, and then the rest of AHQ is there and they just pick him off. So it's so hard to play like this from EDG, where you just generally have to take the safer paths. They're a little slower. You end up behind rotations, as well as you see like bot side, they have no vision there. It's so scary for MarkZ to try and push out further than like 2 feet in front of his turret.
Yeah, you can see as well, I mean, Pawn's feeling the pressure, going for a Void Staff as his 3rd item here at the same time, knows that he doesn't really have that option of getting something like a Zhonya's Hourglass, you know, going for that 4-item Vladimir that you always like. He knows that he needs power as soon as he possibly can, and he's sort of the only member of his team that has any sort of considerable lead.
Once again, Pawn just kind of standing up on his castle, looking around like, guys, where you at?
Yeah, exactly right. We do have a few more tweets coming in while we do have a little bit of a lull in the game. First one from Hansa LA. He says, which Tahm is more useful? Stay with your AD carry and protect her, or run towards the enemy carry and eat them like liquids? Backline Tahm of the enemy team, or backline Tahm of your own team?
I generally prefer the protect one. The Liquid getting a solo kill 1v4 was a little surprising to see.
Yep.
It's one word for it.
That's a unique strategy.
I think the easiest way is kind of, it's always going to be dependent on the type of composition that you're running, the type of composition that you're facing across from. If you're against like really heavy poke, or not poke, excuse me, pick, like the Elise, like the Malzahar, like the Twisted Fate, you probably want to be more that defensive Tahm Kench, because your gobble is so important in helping reposition those vital carries. But in a composition like this, where they have so much pick potential with the Twisted Fate, I'd say that Albis is probably going to be more of the aggressive forward Tahm Kench and setting up those plays and being kind of the first guy in before falling back to on and protecting him.
Right, I mean, similarly, if you swap the Tahm Kench, say, over to EDG's team comp, you could see him ulting in a Poppy from behind to try and get flanks off. Those kinds of things that you used to see. Sometimes when you had the Tahm Kench top, they'd ult the Alistar behind, the Alistar gets a free punt. Those kinds of plays are also really impactful, and it's just almost as much about what your team comp can do as what the other team comp's going to do. So protecting on is going to be super important here in straight up 5v5s, because EDG, like we said, has so many go buttons. It's not that hard for them to get on top of on, and so the whole team's going to have to do a good job protecting him.
Well, at the moment, MarkZ is just dealing with Ziv on the bottom side of the map. Pawn and ClearLove sharing some farm here in the mid lane. It's been a while since we've seen westdoor really come out of this fog of war. We'll see whether they are actually going to try to go for anything, but EDG's positioning is actually very safe. There he is. Spotted him. Spotted the westdoor in the wild.
And the scary thing is that EDG have zero control over the river. Again, the issue is never really the gold lead, it's just how much map control you have. They really need to start getting their vision line up. You can see that Meiko's finally, you know, pushing that towards the mid lane, but I feel like they really need a ward in that mid lane because it's such a high traffic area for AHQ's composition, you know, swinging down towards the dragon, swinging up towards the Baron.
Yeah, 14 seconds now until this Ocean Drake comes up, and Arn's on the top side of the map, so EDG move in, clear out the vision around this dragon area.
Just to like face check that.
Man in there, yeah, and it looks like they're really scared about Baron. We saw a lot of pings from AHQ even on it, but it doesn't seem like they were actually on top of it as they got some vision on it.
Yeah, and they got their important ward down, that one right on that mid lane tower. There's a reason why teams ward there as soon as towers fall. It's to get that information and that vision.
Well, Ziv has to flash out of the way of Mouse. Good positioning here from the Poppy. It's AHQ, probably not doing the Baron, but you can see Tahm Kench moving around it. EDG do get a little Scarrick vision as the Scrying Orb goes in.
They need to start moving over into that Baron area. Ocean Dragon, not the biggest thing to lose, especially not at 29 minutes into this game, so definitely making the right call to play towards the top side of the map, moving in as a team.
Deft in trouble. Mountain's going to pick up the kill. That is incredibly bad for Oscar, and you're entirely correct.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a crazy thing to see happen. The Elise just suddenly behind you as an AD carry. You think your team's getting you vision control in river, and they're already behind you. And so that is the trouble of losing vision control topside. We see AHQ just made some sort of rotation into the top jungle, and now they're going to take a top tier 2 turret.
And that's the potency of AHQ's composition. The fact that if you look at EDG's ward line, it seems so safe for Deft to be behind that, but then suddenly, oh, that was dirty.
Oopsies.
Well, you should give him the kill to the
Jinx.
The Jinx. Nah, Deft had flash up. He would have just flashed away, probably would have gotten that kill on him no matter what.
Oh, wow. ClearLove can't steal away this Baron as well as Pawn, looking to try and get it his way amongst it. Charges up, that is going to be Mountain falling down. We'll see what this Vladimir can do in the backline as westdoor's going to die as well. EDG fighting without Deft and still somehow able to come out on top. Flash does go off as the Zap's not going to find the Vladimir. Now EDG, they find Arn, will try and destroy him, but Albis once again saves his life. This tower should not be too much of a problem as Pawn picks up the kill. He's on a rampage now. Pool saves him from the turret. Ziv fighting 3 people and looking pretty good while he does it as Meiko, thankfully, is the one tanking up this turret. Has a few more shots in him, throws an auto attack at the turret, and EDG leave 1 alive.
And kind of welcome back to the game, EDG. Biggest factor, though, is the fact that Ziv's Gnar was unavailable for the entire duration until the very end of that fight.
Yeah, I think he burned all of it just on the Baron, so once EDG's actually in range to contest it, he's in his exhausted Gnar form, which is really not great for team fighting, and we already said how EDG's team comp is so good at team fighting. Even without their AD carry, they're able to take this fight.
And this is just huge props to the fact that Pawn is so massive. You can see him just being an absolute menace into that backline, pretty much dealing with 3 members and allowing the rest of EDG to make 2 picks on the front half of it. But Pawn doing so much work in this 4v5, and like you said, Ziv still in that mini form is just pretty much irrelevant for this fight.
Man, I love Pawn. OG Season 4 Pawn was like my favorite player.
Oh, definitely.
He is trying to dig EDG out of this hole and save their world's dreams.
2015 Pawn taking down SKT with a Morgana picking game number 5. That is the dream. And EDG are going to continue their success after that last fight by taking this Constellation Ocean Dragon. 6,000 gold now the lead. This Pawn's going to clear out this mid lane. Remember, Ziv still the only man with a Baron buff.
Yeah, I mean, as much as this gold lead looks terrible for EDG, I don't think the game circumstance is necessarily as bad as it seems. They still have a ton of vision control, and they'll always be struggling with that throughout the whole game. The pick-off potential of AHQ's comp is always there, but they are hitting some nice item spikes, and the fact that they generally are going to win most 5v5s, it is not looking horrible.
And you also have to remember that they are 1 tower to 5, and if you think about a tower being worth about 1,000 gold, they're effectively sitting on 4,000 freestanding gold, which means the difference between their gold discrepancy is actually much smaller when EDG do finally, you know, if they win that team fight, and how they can quickly start snowballing and knocking down these structures.
Yeah, I want to talk as well about the wave clear that they have with Deft on the roster, the fact that Pawn can charge up those Tides of Blood at the same time as there's the teleport in from westdoor, decides not to head in on top of Deft. An interesting decision, but does secure them in a turret in the mid lane. AHQ continue the bleeding. That's 6 turrets to 2 now.
Yeah, and that's the good word for it, is bleeding, just because they have so many tools on their roster to mitigate that through the wave clear, like you were saying, from Pawn, from Deft.
Right, it was basically EDG trying to ult in on top of Pawn, or westdoor, who ulted out, and in the meantime AHQ took the mid turret.
Yes.
Now that they finally got the global ult out of westdoor, they're trying to push a lot more aggressively as 5, but the minion wave just gets cleared out so easily.
Yeah, Ziv now actually looking to try and find some form of engage. Does have the flash.
As soon as they wait this out, though, AHQ are put in a pretty precarious situation, not having that Mega Gnar form available. Again, their ultimates aren't the best for kind of sitting in lane and fighting. It's about, you know, making use of the fact that the map will be open up.
As well as the fact that EDG do have control of these sideways at the same time, so this mid situation is something that EDG can hinge on. But at the moment, looks like AHQ is able to just clear out waves, and everything should be fine. 3 items now completed for Deft. Has Rapid Fire Cannon as his chosen Zeal item. But that is on with a huge amount of items now with the Last Whisper, as well as the double Zeal and Infinity Edge. On the Hunt's being popped just to secure this turret, and now Mountain's in trouble. Bubbled and destroyed. Now they take down the turret. It was doing a lot of damage there as Froskarin, fist pump. Pretty excited that EDG is doing a little bit better here.
It's still a very scary situation. They do have a pick on Mountain. We'll see if they can... What he wants to do is he wants to force the wave clear off the tower. They don't want to look for a fight here. They just want to take the structure for free, but I don't think they're going to get it.
Well, Deft still does have a lot of damage as Arn makes his way back in. Pawn has to flash. He's got no health. Oh, fantastic W from Mouse. The steadfast presence is going to stop Ziv from doing anything. Tied away for the disengage. And no little penguin in the ice is going to stop EDG this time.
Yeah, westdoor, I think his ultimate just came up, so if he wanted to try and go for some crazy play, maybe he could have. He had his Zanyas as well, but I do like the
Meiko.
idea.
That's
of
a dangerous place
out.
to back right now as a Nami. With that Destiny out.
Pro player is not always known for the best recall spots.
That is a very good point. I have a feeling pro players not even necessary. I think they're just players in general, not known for the best recall spots, except most of us don't ever actually have to
we don't
advertise.
Have 500,000 people watching you recall.
Exactly.
I feel like every coach has had this conversation with the player.
Right.
Why did you back there? Just back up. Just take a step backwards.
Oh, and earlier on the top lane stream, someone just recalled 2 steps in front of his turret and just got hit by a Rumble E.
And you lose so much for such a silly mistake.
Yeah. But to get us off this topic, I do actually have a slightly relevant question, because Arn has just purchased the item of note here. It was actually coming in from PSI Joker, who says, wouldn't an early executioner's calling be a smart pickup for Arn? Of course, he built it very, very late this time around, and is that a problem here for AHQ?
Well, you've got 2 ignites on westdoor as well as Albis, so while I do agree, and I definitely think it's a cool item and a good item to have anytime you face across from a Vladimir, I'm not going to be as harsh on it, simply because there are 2 ignites to deal with Vladimir's healing.
Right, and I mean, it is important to pick it up, but you don't want to sacrifice other item timings on someone like Jinx. It's not a utility one. Like on Sivir, maybe you see it from behind a little bit more, but Jinx is really just about her damage, and if you don't want to risk sacrificing that, because even if you have, say, a way to cut Pawn's healing, do you guys have the damage to kill him necessarily? Like, not always the case. So
maybe this Vladimir, because this Vladimir has a Rabbitin's Death Cap now instead of any sort of defensive item.
Right. There's just three tanks running at you from EDG, so you're going to need to be able to kill some of them. And
yeah, that's a good point.
It's dangerous. I say 3 because, let's be real, Vladimir's a tank.
A mitigation tank? Is that what you call it?
A sustain tank?
Yeah.
False tank.
Something like that. I like it. Mouse trying to deal with Ziv, who's being frustrating once again. Mountain spotted on the bottom side of the map. Good ward line here towards the top side for EDG, but they still don't know where westdoor is. Until then, they saw him just poking his head out in the jungle.
Yeah, but we see EDG has a lot more control in general in the game, having a couple deep wards on the top side of the map as the Baron starts coming back up. So just a couple little vision like that helps so much in knowing that you're a little safe here. They're not going to be sitting and waiting for you. You see where Albis is right now, hovering after the Jinx, not necessarily on the bot side, looking to TP in a Elise or something like that and take an inhib. Just knowing exactly what's available for the team helps so much.
Wow, EDG just stopped the Baron.
I think what they're looking to do is just start
Vision going everywhere right now, as we are going to see westdoor throw down the ultimate. Half health on the Baron, but it does reset.
Half
now
health
EDG
on
looking
Deft.
for something. Yeah, exactly right.
Oh, this is so dangerous. They have to commit right now because they forced the teleport, and there's a massive wave. Ziv is going to get an inhib.
Yeah, they've committed.
Oh, no,
the teleport's coming
in.
in. Oh my goodness. Mountain now repels himself. EDG looking for the team fight. Watch for Deft. And this Sivir, of course, his team fights are fantastic on the champion, but he's very, very low. Ziv doesn't find the ultimate onto the Sivir. Massive damage from Arn in the backline, but it's a double for Deft. And AHQ's frontline has been eviscerated. Now heading back through, EDG have been spotted from that scrying orb. Fog of Warstream explodes as that teamfight erupts for EDG.
But why would you teleport?
Yeah, you just have to look at that TP in from Ziv and just shake your head, because EDG is basically all inning on trying to start a 5v5 team fight. It's the only thing that they're comped as well, and if you're able to just keep splitting them up on the map like that and start getting basically map advantages, they can win this game fairly easily. And by not even taking the turret, the inhib, EDG wins an easy fight that's just a straight up 5v5. And now they lost the Baron for it as well.
It's like AHQ have so much on their composition that they don't need to run into that 5v5. There's no reason for that. They have so much poke with the Twisted Fate, with the range of the Jinx. They have so much steal potential having that Elise. Because again, Mountain was still alive and ready for anything. They had a lot of protection. Like, all they had to do was waste EDG's time, let them try to burn down the Baron, and either force them off of it, or worst case scenario, try to look for a steal. But more than likely, probably just force them off and take the free summoner cooldown in the teleport, as well as that bottom lane inhibitor, then use the split pressure point to then force the Baron later. That is a massive error that may have lost them the game.
Yeah, now EDG actually have eyes on Arn on the bottom side of the map, so inside track as far as cutting off this Jinx. Decide not to move quickly enough. And you can see Mouse now split pushing on the bottom side. Guardian Angel in hand, same thing for ClearLove. There are big items here for EDG Pawn. Only one more left, and he's going to be maxed out. 5-0-5. He's the hero to the rescue one more time. You see it so often. He's the clutch player. And the rest of EDG, a bit of a nightmare early game. However, this Baron has turned things around somewhat. Still behind in gold, but 3,000 at 40 minutes. Who cares?
Yep, gold leads shrunk a lot as the number of turrets is evened up a little bit.
Oh, Pawn, the bait play.
They do have good wave clear in the Jinx. Unfortunately, the thing about Twisted Fate is he doesn't have immediate wave clear, like you said earlier with the Vladimir. So
especially not against Baron up creeps.
It's why the static Shiv is also very important on and making sure that he continuously has that stacked up as he approaches the waves, because he's pretty much like their last defense.
Yeah, waves pushing in for EDG as well. Topside is an important one, because as soon as AHQ see that crashing, it's actually building up quite heavily. So EDG now using their Baron, moving on over. Mouse is going to set up here in the mid lane.
I mean, we joked about the Sivir 600 CS win condition, but we're only 200 off.
Yeah, and things are going more their way.
Actually, both Arn and Deft are on the clock as far as farm is concerned. Both of them farming this one out very well. Deft has Flame Horizoned his own top lane.
Oh, hold on.
On the hunt. Guardian Angel's done for Arn, but
just
there's the bottom lane smashed
Yep.
out. And Deft is going to focus on this inhibitor. It's going to be free. Mouse with a clutch play secures them the objective.
So the difference between a 600 CS Jinx, although as I say that, they could actually re-engage.
ClearLove. Oh, Mountain bashed into the wall, and Mouse is going to destroy him. Tidal Wave flies through. Arn does avoid it, but Ziv now in trouble. No GA for this guy. westdoor's getting 1v1 by Pawn. Really good Zhonya's Hourglass as Pawn does manage to get his health back, and then just explodes the Twisted Fate. In goes Mouse, creates distance as Albis. Yeah, not a whole lot he can do here. Grey Health's a good one, but EDG with 5 members are going to be able to take him down. Mouse as well. Guardian Angel in hand. EDG actually looking to win this game off the one push. Ziv says no. Super Mega Death Rocket is also going to say the same thing as Pawn now dodges out of the way of a boomerang and wanders into turret range and gets himself out to safety.
Okay, back to the 600 CS Sivir and Jinx point. So the big difference here is both of them have AoE, both of them have pretty long range, especially when Jinx is in her rocket launcher form. But the thing about Sivir is that her short range doesn't punish her at all, because she can hit the front line and then ricochet and crit the back line. And I feel like that's what just kind of puts her that slight edge over Jinx, even though theoretically they're both long range AoE crit style champions.
Yeah, no, I think you're correct. EDG utilized its fantastic effect there. Just get rid of the Jinx. You don't even need to have that conversation. Just punt her out of the team fight.
But just if this came down to like a big 5v5,
yeah, no, you're
like
exactly right.
Jinx starts getting her executes and starts zipping around a team fight, but if you actually just like break it down, the ricochet bounces technically should give Sivir just more range than Jinx even has in her rocket launcher form.
Right.
Destiny used towards the bottom side of the map to pick up some farm for westdoor.
Yeah, I mean, the Baron's down for a while. You have double inhibs down. You're not going to be making some kind of crazy global ult play. It's not a huge thing to burn it and just see what people are up to. And then, obviously, you take bot lane, speed up your farming in a little bit.
Elder Drake as well, something that they were probably scouting for, could have been an option. But EDG not caring about it too much, as Deft is just carrying a minion around with him. Now looking towards that top lane. EDG can play this one out pretty methodically from here.
And by playing it out methodically, what that means is you need to make the use of the fact that you have 2 inhibitors down. You don't want to immediately rush to Elder Drake. There's no reason. If you die there, you would pretty much just lose the game. Make use of the fact that you have a 6th and a 7th man on your team if those waves are crashing into AHQ's base, and make them choose between clearing out this vision, protecting their Nexus towers, or protecting an objective like this top tower, like the Elder Drake, like the second rotation of Baron if we get that far.
Yeah. Deft as well, 6 items on the Sivir. Doesn't have a defensive one either. Utilizing the Mikhails from Meiko for that instead. And Meiko actually has a GA.
All right, and the nice thing is, when you're grouped up like this, it's so hard for AHQ to actually make a play. They don't have great, like, run-at-you engage the same way EDG does. They need some kind of, like, beast flank from westdoor or some TP play from the Tahm Kench, because otherwise they just sit in front of you and they just... You see what they're doing now, they just take turrets in front of them as the global pressure builds up. And eventually, AHQ is going to have to make a stand, probably on this turret. I'd rather see it here than in the base, because it's a little bit more grouped up here, but...
Yeah, Mouse once again just punts out 2 members of AHQ. That creates the space. It's a rinse and repeat strategy. And EDG are making it work. It secures them the tower.
Almost looking like a rinse and repeat, though. They're still respecting the fact that there is a lot of chase potential. So right now, just waiting out the Gnar. As soon as that pops off, they immediately run back in and get the inhib.
Yeah, happens. So 3 inhibs down. EDG, heck of a lot of control. And despite what was pretty nightmarish early game, to be honest, against a global composition, it was looking very scary.
Bullets.
Yeah, as far as, you know, being frightened of a Fog of War stream, I was certainly that guy. Tried to make sure that I wasn't as obvious, but I was certainly quite upset. EDG have turned this one around very, very nicely. Pon even selling his Proto Belt for a Spirit Visage 6-item Vladimir. He is so huge. 7-0 and 6. He's got so much money, so much farm. Everything's fine.
The thing about Proto Belt is it's actually not quite it's not the most cost-efficient item in the game. It's almost like one of those items that you either have to first or second rotate, simply because of the stats that you're actually getting off of the gold spent. This late in the game, it makes much more sense to have that Spirit Visage there or have some sort of defensive stat, but typically with Proto Belt, it's either you build it first item or you don't build it at all.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised at this decision to go for the Elder Drake. I mean, they have 2 buffs. It's nice to amplify them and get the burn damage, but
you basically go straight to the Baron. It's genius.
Yeah, I mean, you basically can just sit in the base with the triple inhibs down, and you never need to leave the base as long as you're not getting hit by wild cards, and you can just sit on top of them while they try and wave clear and try and chunk them out. And I'm surprised to see them go on for this slower approach. It's not like it's wrong. It's just, I think, a little unnecessary. I mean, the Baron up double super minions will, of course, be crazy, but whoa.
Mountain in trouble. In goes westdoor, but he's not going to get anything done. He has a Guardian Angel for some odd reason. And there's the smash out as everyone's just getting secluded and destroyed. EDG picking apart this team. Mouse looking to try and get aggressive one more time as 2 are dead. Mountain and westdoor no longer available, and EDG 5 versus 3 should be able to head into this base and try and finish off this game.
I think it goes back to that idea that this is kind of do or die for both teams. So they probably wanted to be, you know, a bit more cautious. Let's just grab the Elder Drake. Let's just get the Baron. You know.
They can't fight 5v5.
Whoa.
So.
Exactly.
Ziv does not find the ultimate onto Deft. That is going to spell the end of these Nexus turrets. Albis and Ziv with the heroic defense attempt, but is it going to be enough? Albis is going to get destroyed by the heroic charge, and see you later, Nexus. EDG, it was looking difficult, especially from our Fog of War perspective, but they do come out on top at 47 minutes.
Yeah, so it's going to be EDG and H2K that will advance from the group, not necessarily in that order. We still have a tiebreaker now to play between these 2 teams to determine who will be first and second seed.
Right, and it's just huge, the plays around Baron, the one where Pawn went in, they fought 4v5, they were able to keep him off it there, kill a number of the people despite the fact that Baron